Creative writing mean to you? I'm Kauffman, and I'm on a mission to connect with every creative writer in the world. But I need your help. The world is constantly changing, which is why it's our duty, no, it's our responsibility to inspire creativity. My creative writing tips, tricks, and strategies are gonna help you become a better writer, so that way you can beat procrastination. Do you have a story that you're dying to tell, but you don't know what to do next? I can actually help you craft a story. Welcome to Kauffman Writes, your daily dose of creative writing, inspiration, motivation, strategy, discussion, advice, and maybe a little bit of procrastination. But don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Today is day episode 102. Welcome to the stream. Hey, what's up, Stephanie? Welcome. Hopefully, usually getting some good editing in, it looks like, at this time of the day for you. So today I'm actually going to be trying a couple of new things. We're going to start off with our daily writing sprint because I am eager to explore these hags in my story. Oof, these like Yoda witch type characters. So first we're going to start off with our writing sprint. You can join me as well if you feel like getting some work in, or sit back and live vicariously and I'll write for the both of us. And then after that, we'll hop into our discussion. What is the hardest part about being a writer? So we'll chat, we'll have some fun creative writing conversations. Feel free to stick around and be involved in the conversation. And that's going to be our show for today. I'm going to queue up my stuff. Let's throw on some music. We can't call ourselves writers without a good writing playlist and writing vibes. So let's see what we feel like. I think we're going to go before the battle today. Yeah, I think this feels right. By the way, if you're here in the stream, how far along are you in your story progress in whatever you're working on or you last worked on? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear. All right, so I got my last scarecrow queued up. Now today we're actually going to be doing a 30-minute sprint. We'll be doing one 30-minute sprint instead of breaking it up into two 20-minute sprints. So we're going to be able to get into it. All right, so I got last scarecrow queued up. There's the synopsis on the side if you want to check out what my story is about if you're not familiar. All right, and we are all set. All right, our heroes have just entered the nest for the first time, and we're about to really encounter what these hags, what they are all about, and if there's a solution for them to resurrect, quote. All right, so we got, let me throw this up. Perfect. All right, so we got our 30-minute writing sprint, 30 minutes on the clock, and time to write now. Hey, what's up, Silent? Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Hey, welcome to the stream, Monatelli. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate the like. Good, good stopping point. I was like, I knew that would be a nice little stopping point from where my characters had gotten to. Interesting. Yeah. So now I've gotten them. Let's see. So in the confines of the chapter that I'm on, I want to say in terms of the nest chapter, I want to say since they were saved from the cave, we've basically been introduced to the hag and the bird she rides. They've been led from the cave to the nest itself. I've done a lot of interior and exposition actually now that I think about it. I feel like in the following when I come up through the second draft of this, I might cut it down. It kind of depends on how much description I want to do for the hag. But I feel like I've done a lot of setup for her character. So they've traveled out of the cave, basically crawling on this tree root, which then takes them to the nest itself, which is biggest tree you could ever see. And they basically are walking up the nest or walking up the tree root, which takes them to the tree base itself. They go through an illusionary wall, which takes them inside and onto a platform, which serves as an elevator, which skyrockets them higher into the tree, higher into the nest, taking them higher and higher. And then I feel like that was a good stopping point because they reach a higher section of it, and then what he sees surprises them. So, well, I want to say, I'll probably be moving the plot forward tomorrow with the next section. Absolutely, and I know I have a lot of ground to cover, so I'm excited how it came out. All right, let's see what we got here. Comment, Stephanie. I wrote over 1,000 words in that sprint. Yes. Woo! 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 Awesome. I know. And we had a full 30-minute sprint too. I know usually I've been splitting them up between 20-minute sprints. I've kind of gone back and forth. What I learned in the first 50 days of doing Kauffman Writes is that when I did sprints that were 30 minutes or longer, a lot of the times it lost viewers' interest from people who are coming into the stream. So I realized that by doing shorter sprints, I was able to balance the writing portion of it and any of the other discussions or writing stuff at the same time. So I played around with that a lot, but I'm actually really glad to hear you're able to get 1,000 words. I wonder how much I got. I actually it's interesting because I don't actually usually track my word count per writing sprint. I kind of just look at it as a grand total. I'm kind of curious. I'm going to track it right now. A skirt. I have to remember where I even started. I don't know if there's any Doctor Who fans in here, but I had to throw in that quote cracks me up so much. It's even bigger on the inside. All right, let's see. I'm curious. So I got now. Granted, my page count is inaccurate because I have my my font and the style blown up, so you can see if you want to follow along. Let's see. So it looks like I got about 420. Yeah, so it looks like I got about 420 or so words during that, which I think is probably about. So that was about a 30-minute. I think that if I wasn't doing a live stream, I could probably do about 500 to 600 quality. But I know I'm kind of my pace. I'm not at a slow pace, but I'm not at fast pace, and I do some fine tweaking and editing as I go. So, well done, though, my friend. That's awesome. I am, and I've met a few actors from Doctor Who. Wow, that is so cool. That is so cool. If there's one of my our favorite quotes that we know, it's bigger on the inside. That's cool. I think of all the doctors, I think It's always a toss-up between Tennant and Smith. I think I like Smith a little bit more. And then the recent Doctor, the female Doctor actually wasn't necessarily a bad Doctor, but I feel like her story arc over the past couple years was really flawed by a lot of just poor execution. Like, I think her seasons would have been stronger if it was just her and one companion the entire time instead of making it a group dynamic. I think there's certain doctor types that could have done really well as a group dynamic, but I don't think it served her style per se. And I think it kind of lost probably a good deal of interest since you can see they changed, went back to the original showrunner again for the new doctor. Oh, really? Oh, that's so cool. It's crazy because now we see Matt Smith in, I know he was in, I think, The Crown for a while, and now he's in the, Game of Thrones, the, House of the Dragon, which was super cool. It's always nice to see those actors pop up. They're all, like, super talented. I love seeing those doctors. Awesome. So, let's see, where are we at? So, what is the hardest part about writing? What's the hardest part about being a writer? As I really thought about, like, what would I did I really want to chat about today? I think there's so many facets of the writing process, but for you, what is the hardest part of the process? Maybe it's different for everyone. I have my guesses that there's common things, common struggles for the writing process that people struggle with. But I'm curious to hear what's one thing that you've throughout your writing journey that you've always struggled with as a writer? Drop it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear. So for me, I would say it's changed based on where I'm at in my life. I would say in my early years, I don't think ideas has never been a problem. I think actually one of my really early problems was being too overly descriptive, too many adjectives, too many verbs and adjectives, which cluttered descriptions and cluttered storytelling. That was a huge issue for me really early on, especially during my college days. And that was something that I really had to refine and work and get to a better place with. Even now, like I wouldn't even say that I'm perfect. I would say I've improved on it a lot, but I've also given myself the leeway to be okay with using some more adjectives and descriptions in my rough draft and then pulling back on later drafts. So, and I think part of that's my style as well. But I think when you're describing things, I think you have to find that balance because too much description just bores a reader. Too little isn't enough to pull them into the story. And every writer has their own style, but I know that's something that I've tried to balance in the early portion of my journey. This must have been about 10 years ago. In the last, probably like, I would say the last like 2 to 7 years, I would say my real struggle was probably consistency. Writing consistently. Like I would write straight months on and then write nothing for months off. And I think that lack of consistency made it difficult for me to feel confident as a writer, and B, for me to really finish things. And sometimes it was due to I was just busy with life. Sometimes we're busy and we don't actually have time to write. And then other times I was just putting it off and being lazy. So I think trying to find a good consistent path, a good consistent like schedule, routine, a way to make it easier for yourself is always a great solution. And then lately, what has been the struggle since I've started on this journey? Hmm. I think I wouldn't say this is a struggle, but I would say the thing that I've really had to adapt to is writing in a live stream format. This has been an entirely new experience for me. I've never done anything like this before in terms of I've had obviously experience in video and creating videos, as you've seen from my previous like Kaufman's Corner videos. I've been doing them for years. But in terms of writing online and showing you my process literally as I'm typing the words, I think that's definitely been an interesting experience. So I would say, let's see, what are common problems that I've seen that writers generally struggle with? I would say it's probably I resoundingly see a common problem is writers being able to finish stories. I would say being able to finish stories is one great problem I see. I would say being able to write consistently is another major problem I see. And what are other ones? Finishing, writing consistently. And I would say there's a huge confidence gap. There's like so many writers out there who are actually good storytellers, but because of a lack of confidence or a fear of how their work may be perceived, it never crosses that barrier, that gap of actually being able to put it out to people because of a fear of rejection. Let's see. For me, just writing in general has always been a struggle because I'm dyslexic. I struggle with spelling, and when I was writing in a notebook, I would underline words that I couldn't spell as a reminder to go back to it later and look up the word in a dictionary. Yeah, that's I mean that's definitely a really good strategy in terms of like the writing portion. So that way it'll probably help you pay special attention to words when you go through later drafts. But I'm glad that you've been able to, I would say, like refine your process. I know you do a lot of your writing now through verbal, through I know you use a lot of speech to text word processing now, right, Stephanie? And I know that that probably like speeds up the process so much more. I've like I think that's such an interesting idea, and I'm like, I wonder if I could write a story like that. I wonder what that would be like if I tried to do that in a live format. But that's good that you've been able to improve and like come to that realization over time. What was that? I'm Stephanie. I'm curious. What was that like change for you, or that moment? Like, when did you realize that? Like, and I'm sure like there's a lot of writers who probably deal with dyslexia out there. What was that change to the speech to text format? Like, did you just like come upon it one day, or were you searching for another way to make writing easier for you? What did that like change or that journey look like? I'm kind of curious. And this could be of value to other writers who might be dealing with like dyslexia or other types like ADHD is one that I know a lot of writers deal with and makes it hard to really focus on staying consistent. And then dealing with things like when we're writing and drawing from trauma or from experience, sometimes it can be really easy to translate that into writing. Other times it can be difficult because we're not emotionally feeling it in the moment, but then also emotionally feeling it opens us up to that path of both creative expression and pain, depending on where we're at in our journey, right? So that's kind of always a balancing act as well. And then sometimes we use our writing to help us through the healing process, and that's like a whole another thing. Let's see. It was just something I wanted to try because sometimes I'd be writing a while. I was literally working my day job, and I found it also it helps get the ideas out of my head faster. So it's a huge time save for you. So it's like that's actually pretty incredible. I actually really didn't think about that in terms of the how much time it saves you. That's actually that's a really cool concept, Stephanie. That really is. I know a lot of writers out there struggle with finding the time to write, especially because most people have a day job, right? And it's hard to be able to like, all right, well, if I'm writing a 100,000 page book, where do I find the time to write a 100,000 page book? And that's cool that the text to speech really improved that process for you. That's really awesome. If you're another writer, if you're just joining the stream right now, we're actually just chatting about what is the hardest part about being a writer. I would love to hear from you if there's any struggles you've had from your writing journey. So let's see. I think finding time to write is definitely a really challenging one, and then being able to make it easy. So it sounds like you found like a process which has made it easier to do. I've never considered refining that as a process, but that's incredible. I would definitely recommend other writers try it if you're having like a struggle in terms of trying to like find the time. I also recommend to writers if you're like really busy, you have a day job, maybe you're a student or you have a family or kids. I would recommend writing anywhere between 2 to 3 times a week. Start out small. The goal is make it easy so you don't burn out in 3 to 4 months. If you make it an easy process and you're having fun as you're doing it, you're not going to burn out because you're enjoying it just as much as you would be enjoying like one of your as like a hobby, or if you would be like relaxing and doing something. And that's really the goal, right? The goal is to enjoy the process regardless of where you're at. And if you're getting stuck somewhere, the great thing is you are the master of your own universe. You're the master of the worlds that you create, the characters that you create. If a character doesn't feel right, change it. If a world doesn't feel right, change it. If the dialogue sucks, change it. If the plot doesn't feel right, you can probably guess what I'm going to say. So I really would like to empower you that while the writing process at times can be challenging, by making each step as easy as possible, you're guaranteeing more success with your overall journey as a storyteller, as an author. And then if you're working on something 2 to 3 times a week and you're spread that out over just the course of a couple of years, like you'll have a published story. You will have a published story instead of hitting 3 or 4 years from now and only having parts of stories. So consistency is the key. Don't be afraid to take a break. Taking a break is a great way as well. Be intentional with the break. Be like, hey, I got to need a break from writing for like 2 to 3 weeks. It's all right. Or maybe you just need a break from the story you're working on. Maybe you're like, all right, I've been working on this story for like 2 years now. I'm actually kind of feeling inspired by this other one. If you're intentional with it, then you can go to that one and be like, hey, this one needs to take a break and I'll come back to it when I'm ready. I think that's another really good strategy as well. I think growing up and throughout the writing process, I've always been told that the hardest part about being a writer is that it's a solo experience. And I think I would argue that now because I think the creation part of it is solo, but I think the power of creativity and the power of being a writer is that if you're involved in communities, like if you're involved in communities like this one, or you're involved in like a local writers group, or if you're involved in any type of writing community, you can go on the journey with other writers who are dealing with the same thing. The process doesn't have to feel like you're on an isolated island. If that's what you like, if you like being by yourself, then great. Enjoy the process, right? Tailor it towards you. And then the great thing is then you can connect with other writers and then share and collaborate on ideas when things aren't working for you, right? So if you're like, oh, you know what, my dialogue really sucks, writers groups are a great way to get feedback. So that's always my my strategy when I'm trying to make things easier, when I'm trying to make things fun. I'm of the mindset that the entire writing process can be fun if you're strategic about it. The hardest thing that writers struggle with is probably editing. I'm it makes sense actually, especially as I've done like more and more research over these past couple months. I think it's because a lot of times the editing brain can be different than the creative brain. Balance the two of them out. You will appreciate yourself so much more. There's a way to make the editing experience more fun to balance out the work that needs to be done. There's absolutely a way. If you're in a place where you have the finances, just invest in an editor and that will like save you all the time. But for a lot of us, right, who don't have that extra like income, or maybe you just have like a fixed amount that you can only spend like this much on an editor when it's at a certain level, then you need to make the process as efficient as possible until you've gone through at least a couple of drafts and your book's ready to be edited, because well, you could publish your book online. You could self-publish, you could put it out there without getting an editor, without getting feedback. Sure, you could do that. You're more likely to have your story, or even if it's a script, if you're a screenwriter out there, you're more likely to have it received more well by people if you've had an editor or maybe a type of beta reader. You need other perspectives and opinions outside of your own giving you objective feedback. Your mom doesn't count. As much as you may love or hate your family, you need completely objective feedback. Maybe you have a partner, a husband, a wife out there, kids, parents who might be able to give you good feedback. But I think you run the risk of them not wanting to share the things that you actually need to hear about the story because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Another writer is less likely to do that, especially if you're trading reviews or if you're trading like critiques, because they need the feedback as well. And then if you're clear about what your expectations are and the type of feedback that you want to receive, making the whole process easier. Stephanie, I found a big writing community right here on Twitch, and that's helped me stay motivated. Oh, that's awesome. What's the writing community you found? I'm always researching and checking out new communities. I'd love to check it out. When I added myself to Twitch, or when I started streaming to Twitch, I asked myself, like, what types of arts communities are there going to be on Twitch? Because Twitch is predominantly known for gaming. But I know in terms of like the categories that they have now, there is a specific arts category, which is cool. I don't know how big it is. I think this stream is broadcast through more like the talk show channel, I believe, because I think the arts ones are geared a little bit more towards like visual arts, like graphic design and visual things, and writing is a bit more of like less visual, more in here. Maybe eventually I'll be able to hire my way or pay for a way to make it a little bit more of a visual process eventually. Okay. Awesome. So with that was actually good. That was a good little discussion. And by the way, if you're enjoying this stream, don't forget to follow and subscribe. I live stream every single day with writing motivation, inspiration, tips, strategies, advice, and all the things to just help you become a better writer. I want you to tell your story, get it published, and then enjoy the process. So you'll be alerted to whenever I go live daily and when I post new writing videos and shorts every week. So do that. And don't forget to like the stream on your way out. I'm going to be wrapping it up for the day. However, I'm going to be trying something brand new today. So I need to create some shorts content. I'm going to be practicing this. I'm actually going to, once I get off this stream, I'm going to be hopping back onto the stream, but I'm going to be streaming through the short shelf on, I want to say, YouTube, Instagram, and then Facebook, and possibly TikTok. So I'm going to be restreaming, but this will be specifically targeted towards the vertical shorts streaming platforms. So feel free to come join me if you want to see a different style. I'm going to be launching it as my new Art of Writing broadcast. So come join me. I'll be hopping back on live in just a couple minutes. Once again, thanks for joining me today for another episode of Kauffman Writes. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the next stream.